right. April and Alex of Soul Grinder.
Hey,
welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you today?
I'm good.
I'm doing real good, yeah.
Excellent. Where you guys are from?
We are from Portland, Oregon, and we started in 2016. We actually, the three of us met back in 2010 and started a band in Northern California, and then we kind of went our separate ways and finished college, and then in 2016 we decided to get back together and start Soul Grinder.
So what was the spark that kind of brought you back together?
We had really good chemistry working together in the past, and we were all kind of at the point of like, what are we doing not playing music together? Let's make this happen.
So when you decided to play in a band again, what were your goals? Like, what did you want to be like?
We wanted to have our own sound, but take all of our different influences and put them together while making the best songs that we possibly can. Because the three of us were all influenced by different things. Kevin is influenced kind of more by like doom. April likes, you know, the 80s like heavy metal, and I'm kind of more into like death metal and more modern metal. And we were just like, what if we took these things in like a classic context, like how Judas Priest and Iron Maiden would write their songs? Because if you listen to things like Sad Wings of Destiny, it's a ton of different styles. So we kind of took that same idea and applied it to Soul Grinder, but instead of just taking one period of heavy metal, we wanted to take all the periods that we were into and combine them into one thing. And thankfully, I feel like it's been working all right.
Yeah.
April, if you were to describe each member of the band, what kind of charisma are we talking about here? Yourself included, of course.
I am an introvert that plays an extrovert on stage. Alex, you're like reserved, but he'll bring the action to the stage. And same with Kevin. Like we all kind of will become more of a character than I think. We're all kind of introverted types. We're shy and quiet, polite, not too wild and
We're nice
unnatural.
kids.
Yeah, we're nice kids.
Yeah, we're nice kids. But when we get on stage, I think that's where we like let out all of our like pent up anger and energy. I mean, and so then when we get done, we're just like, oh, hey, you know, all hugs and kisses afterwards, you know? So, yeah, that's kind of where that all comes from for us. I feel like it's pretty natural.
So at what point did you realize you're onto something special here?
I feel like in 2017, in the fall of 2017, we had this really big show called Metalesque Fest in Portland, which is like a 2 to 3 day long burlesque festival that April and Kevin were really into playing, and we got signed up for. And we had only had our demo out at the time, and we played to a room completely packed with people, and we were so nervous that when we did it. But then when we performed, we killed. Everybody loved us, and that really felt like the moment that we knew we were a good band. And that really helped us gain confidence that we really didn't have before. Because I feel like we kind of lacked that confidence because for so many years we just couldn't get a band together. So that's really the thing that's really kind of carried us forward, is being like knowing that we have something that, you know, people like and that we believe in.
April?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, totally. That was like the Metalesque Fest was one of our like best, well-received events, and I think also being able to play with some of our favorite bands who are now our friends, Bewitcher and like Savage Master. We played with them pretty early, and they loved what we were doing. And it's like, oh, our like these bands we're fans of like are into this. Like that feels really good, and it's like special to make connections with those people too, and like have that mutual respect is really what I like a lot about having this band and meeting people, is also meeting other bands who are just really cool and you vibe with and you just love each other. Yeah.
So in 2017, you mentioned that here a few times already, you released a single and an EP. What reactions did it generate?
It was pretty well received. You know, originally when we had done Bone Chapel and Terrorflesh, we just wanted something to sell at local shows. And we had recorded it in our tiny basement in Portland where the three of us were living. And we used everything that we had available to us. We had absolutely no budget whatsoever. And when we released it, it was well received, well reviewed. And we were actually really shocked because, you know, given our sound, we knew we didn't really sound like anybody else. So we were very nervous about that. So it was very nice to see the reaction that Terrorflesh got. I mean, we were able to, we got asked to do a tour on that, you know, demo essentially.
Yeah.
And those songs like Bone Chapel, we see people singing along to the chorus at almost every show we play, which is fantastic.
Cool. April, tell me about that first tour. How did things go?
So it was called No Fuel, No Hope, and we went out with Road Rash from Canada. Bewitcher was on there as well, and it was like a 2.5 week run down the West Coast and back, and it was the first time we had ever toured in our whole lives, and it was a really like good introduction to it. We were on the road with people who had learned the ropes, so we were getting some good advice and feedback as we went, and just being able to show off our songs to more places than Portland was really cool and special, and gaining new fans along the way is just a really good feeling, and we were super hungry to do it again, and that's why we're touring currently.
Yeah, we couldn't have toured with two better bands than Road Rash and Bewitcher. I mean, Bewitcher, they're absolute road warriors. They taught us so much about not just touring, but how to operate as a band, and I mean, we love those guys. They've been amazing, and they've always believed in us. In Road Rash, I mean, just absolutely the most fun dudes to be around, and they were just fantastic. And also, both bands were amazing live, and so that really kind of helped set that level for us that we had to meet every night as a band.
So the Prophecy of Blight comes out in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did this album do for you, and how do you feel about it now?
This album did pretty well. It was another thing where we did it entirely by ourselves. We recorded it ourselves in another basement in Portland, and we had it mixed and mastered by Joel Grind. And thankfully, there is a YouTube channel called Nuwavum Full Albums, which has a pretty large following, and we had asked Anderson Tiago, who runs the channel, to host the Prophecy of Blight, and he was into it, and we were very nervous when that album was going to go up, because it was another thing of, okay, well, we don't sound like anybody else, how is this going to go? And we were shocked to see that it was well acclaimed, well liked, and it really kind of helped us really solidify like who we were, just knowing that was our sound, that was our identity, because even we were still trying to figure the whole thing out, coming up with this stuff on our own. And I mean, the Prophecy of Blight, people still talk about it, come up to us, they know the songs, and I think we were really blessed to just get the reaction that we did, because we wanted to make the best album that we possibly could have.
Who released that album for you?
Self-released.
Self-released?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So how did you go about promoting it?
So we went through Nuwavum full-length albums. Also, we made an email list of every single website, blog, reviewer that we could have, and we just blasted it out. We sent it out there. One of them leaked it out to the torrent site, so plenty of other people were able to get it that way. And I mean, it's been impossible to track like how far and wide the Prophecy of Blight went, but it's actually pretty surprising to see people being like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that album," when like in corners of the world that like we know almost nothing about. And that was the thing. It was just one of those self-release, self-promotion, just put your nose to the grindstone and push it out there type things.
Did any touring follow?
No. So, unfortunately, every tour that we had for the Prophecy of Blight got canceled because it came out shortly before COVID hit. So we'd had 2 tours planned in 2020, and COVID happened right before one of them. It was supposed to do the West Coast, and then we were supposed to do this run with Solicitor to Metal Immortal in 2020, and well, because of COVID, it didn't happen. So unfortunately, yeah, with the Prophecy of Blight, it kind of didn't get the touring that we wish it did, but the world just had other plans. So we're finally getting that touring that we wanted to do, and get to meet the fans out there that we made from that album. And it's been amazing to meet those folks who have believed in us, not only just from 2019, but from day one.
Recently, you did an EP titled Queen Corrosia.
Mm-hmm.
I love that title. It only has 3 tracks. What can you tell me about these songs?
So in 2020, since we couldn't tour, what we decided to do was just write. We were just going to write, because we didn't know where the world was going to go. And so we kind of went on this tear where we ended up with 12 tracks. And 10 of the tracks ended up going on our new full-length album, which is going to come out this fall. And then the other ones were going to go on an EP called Queen Corrosia. Now, Queen Corrosia is something different than what we've done before, because never before had we done something that's centered around one theme. And the theme of Queen Corrosia is basically around the 80s influence of Soul Grinder, because Queen Corrosia is very much an 80s style song. So we had Divide and Conquer, which is actually the title track of a Troma film that should be releasing shortly, that we were asked to do by the makers of that film. And then Brain Rot ended up just being something that came up one day when we were messing around at a band practice. It was actually kind of more influenced by a friend of ours band, Leather Bitch. I was just kind of sitting around being like, if I wrote a Leather Bitch riff, what would it sound like? And so that's kind of where the riff from Brain Rot came from. And then April and Kevin came up with the lyrics. And funny enough, I think that's been the best received song on the album is Brain Rot. So, and the other thing about Queen Corrosia too is we just wanted to put out something to let people know that we were still alive. And thankfully, I mean, once again, well received, well acclaimed, and we've been very thankful for that response. What I do think is funny is that, folks have been saying, oh, it's not as grimy as Prophecy of Blight, which I will say with the new album that we have coming out, it is more grimy than the Prophecy of Blight. So get ready for that when that comes around.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
How would you say the music's been changing over the years?
I think for one, we've kind of started to develop our sound, and that took the EP to kind of flesh it out. And then I do think Queen Corrosia was more of like a fun, it is like a release of like, hey, like we're still making music, and it was just like this fun tunes sort of like drop to have. But for our next music coming forward, we do get really heavy and dark and doomy, and we just kind of take the kitchen sink that is our like influences, just like doom, death, thrash, 80s, and just try to keep like sculpting it and refining just that sound of all our influences into one solid
It was
good.
sound. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned the second album already, so tell me more.
So the second album that we have coming out, which we haven't released the name for, but we will. It's going to be 10 tracks, and it truly is the evolution of the sound that we did on the Prophecy of Blight. I feel that it is the best songs that we have ever done. It's the most confident we've ever sounded, and it is just, I think it's incredibly strong, and I'm excited for when it does come out. Because we really did take a look back at everything that we had done before and went, how can we refine this? How can we make it more streamlined? Because our style very much is formed by playing in, dive bars and venues and things like that. We're very much a live band. So when that does come out, it's going to be very exciting to see the reaction for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.